Your life as a samurai. Chapter 1. The Child Beneath the Floorboards. The rain begins before dawn. At first, it sounds peaceful. Soft drops against the wooden roof, wind moving gently through the trees beyond the village. You are still half asleep beneath a thin blanket when the dogs begin barking. Then come the screams. Your father rushes toward the doorway. Outside, orange light flickers against the rain. Not sunrise, fire. The first house collapses before anyone understands what is happening. Men shout warnings through the muddy streets. Some try to run, others freeze where they stand. Your father grabs an old farming spear hanging beside the door. His hands shake as he holds it. He has never fought in a war. Your mother drags you beneath the floorboards. "Quiet," she whispers. You hear horses outside, heavy, fast, the sound of armor striking against saddles, then steel. A scream cuts through the storm and suddenly stops. Your mother presses your face against her chest to keep you silent. Smoke slips through the cracks in the wood above. You hear your father outside for only a few moments. Then, not again. The village burns through the night. You do not remember falling asleep, only waking to silence. When your mother finally crawls out from beneath the floorboards, the rain has stopped. Morning fog hangs over the ashes. Bodies lie scattered through the mud beside collapsed homes and shattered carts. You call for your parents until your voice disappears. No one answers. You never find them. Only ashes and blood in the rain. For 3 days, you wander the mountain roads alone. Hungry, cold, half-conscious. You drink from streams and steal half-rotten fruit left beside abandoned shrines. At night, the cold becomes unbearable. You sleep beneath trees while wolves howl somewhere deep in the mountains. Once, you wake to footsteps nearby and hide silently beneath wet leaves until dawn. Another time, you nearly collapse beside the road, too weak to continue walking. Part of you wants to stop moving, to lie down beside the dirt and disappear. Then you see them. Samurai, riding through the fog like ghosts. Their armor is dark with rain and stained with old blood. Banners sway behind them in the wind. You watch from the trees, barely breathing. One of them notices you, an older warrior with scarred cheeks and tired eyes. For a moment, neither of you move. Then, before riding away, he tosses a small pouch of dried rice beside the road. He says nothing. But that night, for the first time since the raid, you decide you do not want to die. Chapter 2. Ghosts in Armor. Years pass. At 12, you arrive at the estate of Lord Hayato, not as a warrior, as a servant. The estate towers above the valley like a fortress, stone walls, black rooftops, rows of banners moving through the wind. You sleep beside the stables with the other servants. You wake before sunrise each morning. You clean mud from sandals, carry buckets of water through winter snow, wash blood from armor returned from distant battles. The samurai barely acknowledge your existence. To them, you are part of the background, a shadow moving silently through the halls. But every morning before dawn, you watch them train. Wooden swords crack against each other in perfect rhythm. Feet slide carefully across wet grass. No wasted movement, no hesitation, no anger, only discipline. The older servants warn you not to stare, but you cannot stop watching. The samurai seem less like men and more like spirits wearing armor. Untouchable, fearless, beyond suffering. At night, after the estate falls silent, you sneak into empty courtyards with a broken tree branch clenched in your hands. You copy the movements from memory. Again, again, again. Your stance is clumsy, your balance weak. You fall constantly. But each night, you improve. One evening, while practicing beneath the rain, you hear footsteps behind you. An older samurai stands at the edge of the courtyard, the same scarred warrior who once gave you rice beside the mountain road. You freeze, expecting punishment. Instead, he walks forward calmly and tosses a wooden sword onto the ground beside you. "Again," he says, "that is the first time Master Daiichi speaks to you. It will not be the last." Chapter 3. Becoming Steel. Training becomes your life. Winter splits the skin across your knuckles. Sweat freezes beneath your robes before sunrise. Your shoulders ache constantly from carrying water during the day and training through the night. Master Daichi teaches without kindness. Mistakes are punished immediately. Weakness earns bruises. Hesitation earns humiliation. Once, after dropping your sword during practice, he forces you to stand motionless beneath freezing rain for hours. You think. Battle. Waits. For fear to pass, he asks quietly. Another time, after losing your temper during sparring, he strikes you across the face with a bamboo rod. Anger makes the sword heavy. You never forget those words. Years pass beneath endless repetition. Strike, block, step, breathe. Again, again, again. At first, you train because you admire the samurai. Then you train because you fear failure. Eventually, you train because you no longer know how to stop. Slowly, your body changes. Then your mind changes with it. You stop speaking unless necessary. You stop reacting to pain. You learn to hide fear beneath silence. At 15, you spar against another apprentice for the first time before the entire training yard. He defeats you instantly. Your nose breaks against the dirt. Blood fills your mouth. Laughter spreads through the courtyard. Humiliation burns hotter than pain. That night, while the others sleep, you return alone to the training grounds. Moonlight reflects across the wet wood beneath your feet. You practice until sunrise. Months later, you face the same apprentice again. This time, the duel lasts longer. Long enough for silence to replace laughter. Long enough for the others to notice. Master Daichi watches from the edge of the courtyard without expression. After the duel ends, he approaches quietly. "You are beginning to understand," he says. At 17, you are finally allowed to carry steel. Master Daichi presents the sword without ceremony. The blade reflects candlelight like water. You expect pride. Instead, you feel fear. Not because of its sharpness, because you finally understand what it was made for. Chapter 4. The Lie of Glory. War comes the following winter. Snow falls heavily as the army marches from the estate. You walk beside men you once viewed as legends, now close enough to hear their coughing at night and their nervous prayers before battle. The battlefield smells nothing like honor. It smells like mud, smoke, blood, and fear. The first battle begins before sunrise. Arrows fall through the fog without warning. Men scream beside you before you even see the enemy. Horses crash into collapsing lines of infantry. The noise becomes unbearable. Steel striking steel, bones cracking beneath boots, commanders shouting orders no one can hear. You freeze for one fatal moment. An enemy soldier charges toward you through the smoke, young, terrified, no older than you. Your body moves before your thoughts can catch up. The sword enters his chest. His expression changes instantly. Not anger, not hatred, only shock. He collapses into the mud while blood spreads across the snow. You stand there staring at him as the battle continues around you. That night, you cannot sleep. Rain taps softly against the tents while wounded soldiers groan in the darkness. Across the fire, Master Daichi sharpens his blade. "You never forget the first," he says quietly. You realize he is not comforting you, only telling the truth. The wars continue for years. You march across burning villages and frozen mountain roads. You watch horses collapse from exhaustion. You watch starving peasants kneel beside destroyed homes, begging soldiers for mercy. Sometimes mercy comes. Sometimes it does not. You begin understanding something terrible. The samurai are not fearless. Even the greatest warriors tremble before battle. They simply hide it better than others. One night, after surviving an ambush in the mountains, you ask Master Daichi if fear ever disappears. He stares into the fire for a long time before answering. "No," he says quietly, "that is why discipline matters." Those words stay with you longer than any victory. Years pass. The boy who once admired warriors through the fog slowly disappears. In his place stands something colder, something harder, a man shaped by war. Chapter 5. The Man They Fear. Your name slowly spreads through the provinces, not because you seek glory, because you survive. You begin understanding that the deadliest battles are decided long before soldiers ever draw steel. Generals poison alliances with whispers. Nobles smile while planning executions. Letters kill more people than swords. At 26, Lord Hayato names you his personal retainer. For the first time in your life, people bow before you. You feel nothing. Power no longer excites you. You have seen too much death for ambition to feel impressive. The young apprentices now watch you the same way you once watched the samurai at the estate, with awe, with fear. Sometimes you catch them copying your movements after training ends. The realization unsettles you. You have become one of the ghosts you once admired. At 32, betrayal fractures the clan. Allies become enemies overnight. Men you once fought beside now march beneath different banners. The capital fills with rumors, spies, and hidden assassins. You survive not through strength alone, but patience. You learn when to speak, when to remain silent, when to show mercy, and when mercy becomes weakness. One by one, rival clans collapse beneath careful strategy instead of open war. Battles end before they begin. Entire armies surrender without drawing steel. Master Daiichi grows older beside you. His hair turns white. His hands begin trembling slightly during winter. One evening, while watching snowfall beyond the palace walls, he speaks without looking at you. "You finally understand them now," he says. "The samurai?" He nods slowly. "They were never gods." For a long moment, neither of you speak. Then he quietly adds, "They were only men trying to survive long enough to become old." Chapter 6. The Throne Beneath Black Rain. At 38, Lord Hayato dies without sons. The clan fractures immediately. Some demand war, others demand surrender. The capital exists on the edge of collapse. Nobles whisper through candlelit halls while soldiers gather beyond the city walls. Everyone waits for bloodshed. Then the council gathers beneath black storm clouds. And instead of choosing a noble heir, they choose you, the orphan from the burned village. The ceremony takes place beneath endless rain. Rows of nobles kneel silently beneath dark banners. Incense smoke drifts slowly through the hall. Heavy ceremonial robes rest across your shoulders like chains. As you walk toward the throne, you remember the smell of smoke from your childhood village. You remember hiding beneath the floorboards. You remember starving beside the mountain road. Now thousands kneel before you, and for the first time since childhood, you have never felt more alone. The years that follow bring peace. Roads become safe again. Farmers rebuild villages that once existed only as ash. Children grow without hearing battle drums in the distance. Markets fill with laughter instead of soldiers. For the first time in generations, people begin believing the wars are finally over. But peace changes warriors. The young samurai now speak of glory the same way children speak of legends. They admire battle because they have never witnessed it. You are grateful for that. Chapter 7. The Old Man in the Snow. Age weakens your body slowly. Your hair turns white. Old scars ache during winter storms. Your hands tremble when lifting the sword that once felt weightless. The palace grows quieter each year. Friends disappear. Old commanders die. The halls that once carried the footsteps of warriors now echo with silence. One evening, during the first snowfall of winter, you leave the palace alone. No armor, no guards, no banners. Only an old man walking beneath falling snow. The capital glows softly beneath lantern light. Shopkeepers close their doors for the night. Children laugh beside narrow streets covered in white. Near the edge of the city, voices suddenly break the silence. You stop beside a narrow alley. A small group of children huddle together beneath a wooden awning, watching the main road below. Excited whispers pass between them. Then you hear it. The sound of horses. A column of samurai rides through the snow-covered street beneath flickering lantern light. Their armor gleams black beneath the storm. Calm, silent, untouchable. One frightened child stares at them with wide eyes, the same way you once did through the mountain fog so many years ago. For a moment, the boy notices you standing nearby. Cold, quiet, alone. Then he turns back toward the warriors, passing through the snow, unable to look away. You watch him carefully, and for the first time in many years, you finally understand why. The empire will fade. The wars will return. Another village will eventually burn. Another frightened child will dream of becoming something strong enough to survive this world. The cycle never ends. But tonight the land is quiet, and after a lifetime walking the long road, that is enough.